Time to talk a little draft, how it might feature in around here. A couple of Gamecocks in the mix, a couple of Clemson guys in the mix. Welcome back in. He's Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. David Cloninger joining us around 4:15 this afternoon. And we'll talk a little more Carolina. If you got thoughts, on the team, like I know, again, we're not naive around here. This year's ball club, I just a stark contrast from last year. And last year was a very, very, very pleasant surprise.
It was a special year. A lot of things went right.
But you didn't anticipate that it was going to look like this.
No. I mean, my expectation was that you'd contend for a spot in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, you got a center who started on a Final Four team to come in. And you got a Conference Player of the Year to come in and be the point guard.
Yeah.
And you had a good recruiting class. And you were hoping some other guys that were on the roster would take that next step. It just hasn't happened. It hasn't all come together, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And that's really the most disappointing part.
Right.
So I mean, it's been a lot of things that, at the beginning of the year could lead you to believe that this team would be really good. And that's what makes this so puzzling. It makes it such a hard thing to answer, right? Lamont last night in his presser, kind of compared it to a Rubik's Cube. It's kind of like that. I don't know how to solve a Rubik's Cube. Jay, do you know how to solve a Rubik's Cube?
I don't, man. I can do the best I've ever done is like 2 sides.
My head hurts after like 3 minutes, and I rage quit.
Yeah.
Or I'll start peeling the stickers off, and then I'll get the results I want, right? And I don't know what peeling the stickers off for this team looks like, but when you start peeling off some stickers.
There was like a little book, like a how-to book, and I remember looking at it one day. This is back, when I was a kid in the 80s. And I was like, I'm not reading that to try to figure this thing out. Then I see some of these things where people can do it in 12 seconds. I'm like,
figured it out.
I don't get that. Well, anyway, we'll talk more hoops with David and a few other things with DC coming up in just a bit. In the meantime, a little two-parter here. Daniel Jeremiah, fantastic NFL talent analyst for the NFL Network, has his top 50 ranking out. This is not a mock draft. This is a top 50 player ranking. I'm going to give you his top 10, and then a couple of Carolina guys do figure in. Number 1, Abdul Carter, Penn State lineman who is a beast. He's awesome. Travis Hunter at number 2, the Heisman winner. Ashton Jeanty, the runner-up for the Heisman at number 3, the running back from Boise. Mason Graham, Michigan defensive lineman. Tyler Warren, Penn State tight end, number 5. Where will he go? That will be interesting. Who needs a great tight end? He won't be the 5th player taken. Again, these are rankings. This is not a mock draft. We'll have a mock draft in a second. Jalen Walker, another tremendous defensive lineman from Georgia at number 6. Colston Loveland, Michigan tight end, number 7. 2 tight ends in the top 7. Will Campbell, the LSU lineman, offensive lineman at number 8. Jedi Barron, Texas corner at 9. Cam Ward is the top-ranked quarterback in Daniel Jeremiah's opinion. He is number 10 on the overall list, right ahead of Shedeur Sanders at 11. South Carolina does have 2 guys on this list, and Nick Emenwari at number 21. Daniel says Emenwari is a massive safety prospect with ideal instincts and ball skills. He fits best as a strong safety, big nickel, or sub linebacker. He can consistently undercut routes and take the ball away in those roles. He trusts his eyes and drives on the ball. He had multiple pick sixes in the games I studied. He does have a little tightness that shows up in man coverage, but he has enough speed to recover. When he's aligned in the deep half, he's not as effective against the run. He is aggressive to fill, and he's a strong tackler on the front side. Overall, Emenwari will be a difference maker, provided the team that drafts him deploys him close to the action. So there you go. That's what Daniel Jeremiah writes about Columbia's and Carolina's Nick Emenwari. And then go down. This one, I don't want to say surprised me. I didn't know where this was going to go, Elijah. But considering that Kyle Kennard was the Nagurski winner and was an all-conference performer, I figured he'd be on this list. He's not. But T.J. Sanders is at number 42 from Daniel Jeremiah. Daniel says Sanders is a long, lean, twitchy defensive tackle. He aligned up and down the front in South Carolina's scheme. He's disruptive against the pass, boasting an explosive get-off. He uses his length to keep blockers off his chest. When he keeps his pads low, he can create pocket push. South Carolina had one of the best defensive lines in the country, which limited some of his production. Against the run, he can unlock his hips, shoot his hands, and hold the point of attack against single blocks. Overall, Sanders is an ascending player with the ability to impact the quarterback. And I'll give you an addendum. Andy Staples, Ari Wasserman this week are down in Mobile covering the Senior Bowl, and I've seen some of the things they've been having to say. Others that are down there, from all I can gather, and I know you've seen a little bit of it too, TJ Sanders is having a heck of a week in Mobile and is doing himself lots of quality favors.
Yeah, the Pro Football Focus guys that cover the Senior Bowl practices pretty heavily on a yearly basis have been blown away with TJ Sanders, and really that's been one of the overall standouts of the entire event, and that doesn't surprise me at all. I mean, I expect TJ to be taken in the second round of the draft. And I think, going into last year, 2023, specify here, I don't know if that would have been the case that people expected him to do that. And you saw glimpses in 23, like that Georgia game in 23, where he had like the half of his career, right? Where you're like, wow, you really saw the glimpses, and you never saw the consistency towards the end of the year. And then this year you saw it all season long. And I think one thing that was explained there that is really accurate, and I think that explains a lot if you just look at some of the football card stats, as we call it, is that he played on one of the best defensive lines in the country, like one of the 5 or 6 best defensive line units. And one man can't get all the tackles, right? Everybody got to eat on that. And Tonka Hemingway ate a lot. Dylan Stewart ate a lot. Kyle Kennard ate a lot. Those guys were massive threat to that defense, and it's not as good if there is no TJ Sanders. And I think you saw a lot last year, especially with the run block or the run defense comment. That's true. The guy was a space eater in there, and it was an incredible season. I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's even maybe taken closer to the first round. I don't think he gets in the first round,
right, but
I highly expect him to be taken in the second.
Yeah, moving into the first could be difficult just based on some of the things that we've seen in history, but again, he's doing himself favors. And I would even wonder, and I love Daniel, so I'm not, this is, but after this week, if Daniel were to redo this, does TJ move into the high 20s, low 30s? Does he move himself up 10 spots in a top 50 player ranking going into the draft? How much does that matter? Again, a mock draft and a player ranking are two different things. Because what do I need? I might not need a defensive tackle. I might not need a running back. Again, we talked about Washington this year. Washington's got 8 picks, and they don't need a quarterback.
Nope.
They should have a very good draft.
This is what, dude, if Washington hits on this draft, and they even get half of those guys to be legitimate, reliable starters, they opened up a championship window. Yeah. And I'm not kidding.
No, I agree.
Like, they open up a championship window.
And apparently like 80 to 90 million in cap space next season.
Yeah.
I mean, they're so anyway, speaking of the mock draft, this is from the Athletics' Nick Baumgardner and Scott Dockerman, our buddy Scott Dockerman. I like their number 1, and I'm not going to run through all 32 pick. Well, we don't even know all 32 because we don't know who's going to pick where yet, but they have all of them out here just in case. They have Abdul Carter going to the Tennessee Titans at number 1. Let me say, I keep saying, and they say it too, the first sentence they write, the ideal option for the Titans would be to trade this pick. I agree. But if you don't, you take Abdul Carter and you get a wrecking ball up front for years to come.
An immediate game changer on that side of the ball.
Because he'll make an instant impact. And in a division where right now there's 2 good quarterbacks. I don't know what Richardson is yet in terms of the guys he'll be going up against.
Still one of the biggest mysteries in the NFL.
I don't know. I still feel like Anthony Richardson, by the time he's 24 or 25 years old, because he's only 22, 23, whatever.
Like 3 years younger than Shane Daniels and has played one more year in the NFL.
So I think the Colts just have to be even more patient than most NFL teams want to be. But, having Abdul Carter getting after Trevor Lawrence, having Abdul Carter getting after C.J. Stroud, in addition to whomever else they play. But just that there's an instant impact guy. Again, I think trading it is the best thing. But then again, how and where do you put Abdul Carter as a top pick, edge guy in relation to Clowney, Garrett? Is he that good? Is he better? Maybe so. We'll talk more about this, where a Gamecock is in this mock draft. Get into a couple of phone calls, too, coming up.